I come looking for you. We missed you at the buy-up.
How was Mrs. Jackson? Her usual sweetness and light.
Oh, well, Barry was on duty.
Must have had to cover for her. She's probably crying her eyes out somewhere.
Now, what are you on about?
I told her what I thought of her. That I knew she was only feathering a nest by latching onto Dad. That really set her back.
And do you believe that?
How do I know? She could be.
Honey, I thought we'd straightened all this out ages ago. I mean, hasn't it ever occurred to you that Meg Jackson might love your father? And he might love her.
He loves me. If he marries that bitch, he won't have time for me anymore. I was going to be so good. Then she comes along and spoils it all.
Well, it is possible for a person to love more than one person at a time, you know.
He won't. She's trying to take him away from me.
Tracy, dear, hasn't it ever occurred to you what your father would think about you if you stood in the way of his marriage? He might realize what a selfish person you are and that you don't love him enough to care about his happiness.
No, that's not true.
Well, I'm not talking through my hat, love. You see, when I found out how selfish Sharon was, well, I didn't stop loving her. But it did make a hell of a difference to how I felt about her.
You're probably right. It's just things get so confused in this place. You've got to get your anger out somehow.
I know that, honey. But you don't take your anger out on your father. He loves you, and you love him. And you could do a hell of a lot worse than Meg Jackson for a stepmother.
I know. I've been so silly. I really like her, and I've been such a pig to her and Dad.
Well, it's not too late for you to make it up to them, you know. Why don't you think about that, huh?
Meg?
Yes, Mrs. Davidson?
I was just speaking to Jim Fletcher.
What about?
Well, he said you were upset, and he told me why.
You shouldn't have said anything. It's nothing to do with him.
Well, he's worried about you, and so am I.
There's nothing to worry about. I've got it out of my system. Well, don't they say, cry does you the world of good?
Meg, I don't want to intrude on your private life, but if you will allow me to give you a word of advice. Tracy Morris is obviously undergoing a great deal of stress, and she was able to release it by lashing out at you.
Knowing how she feels, how can I possibly think of marrying her father?
You are in no state to think about anything at present, and that is why I think you should go home.
Doesn't solve anything.
Well, if you won't think of yourself, think of my position. You are in no state to carry out your duties. We've already had one unfortunate incident, and I won't have you cracking up too.
But Mrs.
That is an order, Meg.
If you can give Officer Barry the double shift on Monday and Officer Phillips the day off. How did it go?
Well, it's all there in black and white. Why don't you process me and find out?
Thank you. Stand on that white line, please. Jacqueline Mary Nolan, you have been ordered by the court to serve the remainder of your sentence, being 2 years penal servitude without benefit of parole.
That's correct. It gets better as it goes on.
In addition, you have been convicted of escaping from lawful custody and sentenced to 15 months penal servitude. To be served at the end of your current sentence, is that correct?
Quite correct. Sum total, 3 years and 3 months.
That's terrible. I thought you had every chance.
Not with that magistrate. An eye for an eye. I have to serve my whole debt to society. The whole original debt. You seem upset.
Of course I'm upset. I was the one that was
I should have taken Julian's advice and run. Don't you think, Mr. Fletcher?
Just sign here, please, and the governor would like to talk to you.
I must say I'm surprised with the severity of the sentence.
So am I. They say you get what you deserve.
In your case, that is patently untrue. You would be well advised to appeal.
I won't.
That's ridiculous.
I can imagine your disappointment, but that is no reason to abandon hope altogether.
That's what the magistrate said. It is to be hoped you will once again become a useful member of the community.
Oh, what a load of old rubbish. You've already done that.
Wrong. I'm a criminal. All I've got to do now is see myself in my true colours, and that's what I intend to do.
Well, perhaps we could discuss the appeal later when you've had time to think about it.
I've made a perfectly rational decision about my future, Mrs. Davidson. I fought and I lost. So now I'll serve my sentence.
Mr. Fletcher, would you take Nolan back and see that she settles in, please?
Oh, sorry.
Come in, Doctor.
I've come to see Doreen Burns. The reception said it'd be okay if I used your office for the interview.
That's right. I'll get the file.
I've read the police report on the abduction. It's a sad case.
Yes, I spoke to Doreen when she returned, but I'm afraid I wasn't able to do anything for her.
Oh, well, it's early days yet. Besides, if prison governors could solve all of the inmates' problems, I'd be out of a job.
That's one way of looking at it.
Oh, Michael, thank God. I thought you weren't going to turn up. Come and sit down.
No, Jono Worthy solid knocked back a story when it was thrown into his lap.
Oh, good. That means you're going to take it, eh?
Oh, yes, Sarah will make good copy, and I think I've got an angle.
Well, tell me about it.
Well, it goes roughly like this. Sarah, or Jackie, has done everything the courts maintain they're trying to do.
Right.
You know, no punishment, rehabilitation.
Yeah.
Now, Jackie's rehabilitated herself, saving public money, so what's the point of sending her back inside?
Great.
Yeah, I think so. And I think it'll work. And with a bit of luck, there'll be a public outcry.
Good. That's the first step toward getting her pardoned.
No, well, the press is pretty influential, but it'll take more than that to get her released.
Yes, yes. Do you know Anthony Vickers?
The MP?
Yeah. Well, he's also a client of ours. Also a member of my club. I've got an appointment to see him this afternoon. I'm going to present Jackie's case to him.
Big guns, eh?
Well, I'm prepared to do anything I can to get her released. Questions asked in Parliament?
And press campaign?
Right.
We'll eat them alive.
So when I lost Kevin and then the baby, I didn't have anything to live for. So I reckon...
The only thing was to end it all. But you didn't succeed in doing away with yourself. Now, I think there was a reason for that.
I've just never done anything right, that's all.
No, Doreen, I think you're wrong. Anyway, what happened then?
Suppose things looked up. Made up my mind about what to do on the outside and got myself into trouble straight away.
Now, that's not strictly true, is it? From what I hear, Miss Bennett didn't help.
Yeah, but that had nothing to do with the baby.
No, I know that, but you did have the baby's interests at heart.
Yeah, I just didn't want her to go into a home. Then she got real sick.
And you brought her back. Don't you see that? That's my point. Now, that took courage. Where do you think that courage came from?
I don't know.
Well, it must be in there somewhere.
Suppose.
Look, you've survived. Now, I know it isn't easy for you to accept that at the moment, but you have survived. So you must have some strength in you.
I'm not strong.
No? Who do you think is strong?
Bea, Lizzie. All those things I did. Most of them were because of Bea and Lizzie. I mean, they're still in here, and maybe for years. They've managed to keep it together. So I reckon if they could, I could.
So you drew your strength from them?
Suppose you could put it that way. You know, today when I saw Lizzie, I thought she wouldn't want to know me after what I've done. But she still loves me.
And why not? You know, I think you're a pretty remarkable person, Doreen.
Dad?
Tracy, I just had a call from Mrs. Jackson. Now, I want an explanation, and I want it now.
I've been such a bitch, but it was only because I was so unhappy.
Was it that Bryant woman?
Judy's a real friend to me.
Yeah, well, you can do without friends like that, darling.
You've got it all wrong. She did me 2 big favors today.
Oh, really? What?
Well, first she asked me to move to another cell to stop all the gossip. We don't even work together anymore.
And what was the second favor?
I lashed out at Mrs. Jackson.
You certainly did.
But I did it twice. I told her that she was only after your money.
Tracy, you don't believe that, do you?
No, I don't. But it took Judy to convince me. She really helped me get my head together. Dad, Judy's only interested in...